May 3rd, celebrating Cinco de Mayo, which is coming up on Wednesday, obviously the 5th of May. For those who don't know me, my name is Bob Cutler. I always say I'm lucky enough to own Novio's Bistro. I think I have the best team working with me here at the restaurant, and which allows us to do these great events. And it's so great to see so many people's cameras on, enjoying heavy petting while you're here with us on enjoying the show. We got to be really careful how we say we're enjoying these drinks here between heavy and light petting, but we'll just bear with me on that. Joining us this evening from, it looks like she's in Hamden maybe with that backdrop, but actually from Southern California is Sofia Partida, and really rubbing it in with her backdrop there. Not even the green screen, it's just real life in California. So thank you, Sofia, and welcome to Maine, at least virtually.
Happy to be here.
So just a quick rundown of some things. Tonight's cocktail kits are a little bit larger than normal. Sofia asked to make sure that we gave everybody enough libations to get us through Cinco de Mayo. So you have roughly 12 cocktails between the two, plus your neat pours to help you celebrate today, tomorrow, Wednesday, and into maybe even Thursday, depending on how disciplined you are. So just some fun facts and numbers about what we did today. We went through 65 bottles of Partida tequila between your cocktails and your neat pours. We went through 45 pounds of limes for heavy petting, and 150 ounces of agave to make your rosemary agave in the heavy petting. So that's a pretty wild thing, and I don't know. I think that's pretty amazing. Little tiny bistro, small staff to bottle all those cocktails and get all those out to you. So hopefully you enjoy them. They should be good at least until Saturday. Light petting is always enjoyed longer because it doesn't have the citrus in it. So there should be a poll question going up here in as we're going. Perfect, thank you. The poll question, it looks like the question is, which country consumes the most tequila per person in the world, or at least from those countries right there. This, of course, was taken in before we did our 65 bottles, so don't think that includes that number. I'll give everyone a couple seconds to answer that, and then we'll kind of jump into a little conversation with Sofia. I'm going to make this go as just a few. I'm kind of looking at this 17, maybe 2 more people haven't answered. I'll leave that up, and we'll end that here shortly. In the background, if you have questions, please drop them into the chat. Jessica is going to be monitoring that, and we'll kind of interject as she goes, and to make sure that we get any questions answered. So I appreciate it. So as I said earlier, Sofia is joining us from Southern California this evening. And I just kind of want to thank you so much, Sofia, for joining us. And it looks like the results are in, and the correct answer is actually Mexico. And so that's close. No, at least 2 people said Luxembourg. So that makes me feel good. I said it, Sofia, earlier. I always put Luxembourg on as a multiple guess whenever it comes to countries, because I did my 6th grade country report on Luxembourg. So I always like to throw that in there just for out of respect for my 6th grade teacher, Miss Papellian. So Sofia, I want to thank you again for joining us. I know when Herb asked you were probably like, Maine, what am I doing getting involved with Maine? But thank you so much for doing that. And we're really looking forward to learning not only about Partida and the great traditions and history of the tequila brand, but also just more about tequila. So thank you so much for joining us.
Wonderful. Thank you for having me, Bob, and welcome to all of your guests from Novio Bistro. Thank you so much for helping us get our juices flowing for Cinco de Mayo. It's such a pleasure to be with you all.
Absolutely. Thank you. It's like, it must be like Christmas for you, right? Like
100%. Oh, it's, these virtual events have, it's a whole new level of being able to reach different parts of the country. And, I would never be able to do something like this if I was just doing a traditional event and be able to deplete so many bottles of Partida and, go across the United States and be with you all. So I'm just really happy that we were able to make this happen. Thank you.
Thank you. So I guess what I would like to start with is just like a little overview of what the brand of tequila is, or of Partida is, and a little just a overview of an up high overview of what's going on and where Partida's come from and where it's going.
Yeah. Absolutely, I would love to. So Partida is my last name, as you might have noticed, and this is our family name. And the inspiration behind our brand is my uncle Enrique Partida, my father's brother. He was one of the largest agave growers in the state of Jalisco, which is the largest tequila state in Mexico. He passed away in 2015, but his legacy really lives on through our brand. He was a true believer in the way you treated your agave, your farming techniques. If you did them well and tended your plants with a lot of love, it should show up as mastery in the glass. So everything that we do at Partida really is following that whole philosophy of my uncle Enriquez. Partida comes from the state of Jalisco. Our distillery is actually in the town of Tequila, and I find it curious if people still don't know that there's a town in Mexico called Tequila, but in fact, it's the oldest growing region in Mexico. It has the most history of any tequila producing place in Mexico. And this is where our distillery is. And Partida, we source all of our agave from this particular area, which is called the lowlands of Mexico. In Spanish, we call it El Valle de Tequila, which basically just translates to the Valley of Tequila. So you might have heard the lowlands and the highlands. And so where Partida comes from is considered the lowlands. And I like to think of the lowlands as the red wine of tequila. So that stylistic, big, full-bodied, maybe a little more even masculine style tequila coming from this area. So we source all of our agave from just this one place. And if you can imagine, it's at the base of a volcano. So you have these beautiful rolling hills at the base of the Sierra Madre volcano. So all the soil, it's made up of black lava stone and that red, rich Mexican clay. And all of that is influencing the agave that is grown there. So different, not only stylistically, but regionally, very different from the highlands. A different location, different elevation, much more rainfall in this area. So we're producing a tequila that reflects the land, where it comes from, with this lowland style, very full-bodied tequila that we have. At Partida, we really are paying attention to the freshness of the agave. And for us, it's very important that we get the agave into the production process within 24 hours of harvesting, which doesn't sound like a big deal, but honestly, it is really rare in Mexico. Typically in Mexico, if you've had the opportunity to visit a distillery, you'll see piles of agave outside baking in the Mexican sun. And really, you can create bacteria and mold that way. So for us, the first and one of the most important things we do is we start out with the best agave, the ripest agave, always from the same region, this lowland region of Mexico, get the agave into the production process within 24 hours so that the agave is fresh prior to cooking. We cook in a stainless steel autoclave as opposed to an horno, which is made out of some porous material. Usually it's a brick stone combination, usually lots of cement involved. So those older ovens, we call them hornos. It just translates to oven in Spanish. Those are typical in Mexico. I would say probably almost 90% of distilleries are still using that older traditional method of cooking in an horno. At Partida, we're cooking in a stainless steel autoclave. So right away, the first thing, especially in the Blanco, that you'll notice is the freshness of the agave, because there's no oven that is lending itself to the agriculture. It's all about just that fresh, crisp agave. From that point on, the agave, everything that the agave touches is made of stainless steel. So from the roller mill to the fermentation tanks to the distillation equipment, all of it is stainless steel, very meticulously produced that way. Of course, our aged tequilas, we're using, I know we're going to get into the wood a little bit here, but for our core line, we're using American oak bourbon barrels. And the bourbon that was held in these barrels is a higher cornbill mash than usual. It's an 80% cornbill mash. So that's why our core range, you can really taste that sweetness, because that seasoning that's left behind in the barrel, we don't recondition it. We don't char it again. We basically just wash it with hot water and use it for our aged expressions. For our reposado, 6 months. For our añejo, 18 months. For our extra añejo, about 4 years. And then roble fino is another line of tequila that we'll get into in a moment. But you mentioned a little something about Tequila 101. Everything that you do at your distillery will reflect in the tequila, in the liquid, from the age of the plant to the kind of cooking that you do, whichever vessel you're using to cook, to even, of course, the wood that you're using in your barrel aging. Every little part of the process will influence the tequila. So even though there's not a huge variety of things that are typically done, it pretty much is similar from one distillery to another in terms of the process. So Tequila 101, only 5 states in Mexico allowed to create tequila and to grow agave. Jalisco, the largest, we call the mother state. Jalisco is the largest, probably responsible for over 98% of all productions coming from Jalisco. So we do have that denomination of origin. So in order to put tequila on a bottle, it has to come from these particular states, Jalisco being the largest. As you know, the agave is crucially important, the agriculture that you use. Have you ever tried a tequila that is sour or hot? You know, a little bit of that fire water going down your throat. Typically, if you are experiencing something like that, the agave was probably not ripe enough. So the longer you let the agave sugars, the longer you let it grow, the more sugar it has. The higher sugar content will create a higher quality tequila, typically a sweeter tequila. So that's very important. I described a little bit about the regions before, but you have your highlands and lowlands. The lowlands, I described it to you a little bit. The highlands are actually about 1,500 feet higher in elevation. The agaves grow on cliffs there. So much different. They have to stress, the roots have to stress to tap the water. So it is a different style, I would say, of tequila that's produced there. I'm going to call it a little lighter style, where the lowlands, I feel like, produce a heavier, more full-bodied tequila. The process, again, varies from distillery to distillery, but always the agave has to be cooked. But before that, these men that go out to the field and tend the field, there is no machine made that can harvest an agave plant. It has, for the last couple hundred years, it's been done by human hands. And this is a skill that is passed down from father to son. It's a generational thing. And it truly is, it's a skill that is, it's revered in Mexico. And it's hard to be able to, we call it undressing the agave. So basically you're using this incredibly sharp koa tool and you're taking all the leaves, we call pencas, off the agave. And so what you're left with is that piña, is that core. And a jimador, the skillful jimador, can do it in under 5 minutes. It would take any of us, I don't know about you, Bob, but it would take any of us probably a couple of hours to get it right. Because if you don't take every part of the penca off, you will be left with a bitterness in your tequila. You want to get all the leaf off and you want that that penca to be bald. So it's quite a work of art, definitely.
I think whatever the Mexican equivalent to OSHA is would not allow me to harvest agave. We had a couple questions that popped.
Sure.
And you did a great job. I don't even know if you're watching the chat, but you did a great job of answering a lot of them as you
Oh,
went.
good. Okay, good. No, I can't see the chat, so please, yeah,
Okay.
feel free.
One of the questions came in from Mr. Jameson. The different types. I think you talked real briefly about you hit on the different types of tequila. The Blanco is an unaged. If I followed you right, is unaged, and that's why it's right off on yours, and it's here.
Yes.
On.
So all tequila starts as a Blanco. A lot of brands call theirs silver, platino, but the actual classification in Mexico is Blanco. And tequila starts out as a clear spirit. The only reason it has color and different levels of flavor is because of of course the wood aging.
Right.
But it starts out as a clear spirit. And anytime you really want to study a brand, examine a brand, I always suggest starting with the Blanco, because this is where the skill of the house will show. This is where the master tequilero skill will show in the Blanco, because you can't hide much in a Blanco. Whereas a reposado, añejo, extra añejo, that wood, the levels of wood starts to dress it up quite a bit. But the Blanco, there is no dressing up. So again, if you're using a young plant, you're going to taste it in the Blanco. It's going to have a bitterness to it. Everything's going to show up in the Blanco, including, I hate to use the dirty word, but including additives. So additives, like most liquor and even wine, have additives. So in tequila, 1% is allowed. And so what kind of additives are we using in this industry? Glycerin, flavoring agents, and colors. So at Partida, we don't add any additives. We're a certified additive-free tequila. But I want to say, probably upwards of 90% of all tequila does take advantage of that 1% allowance. People ask me, who cares? 1%, that's not very much. But imagine your most powerful perfume, 1%. It's going to make an incredible difference. Yeah. So this is something that really can be picked out, especially in a Blanco. I like to, glycerin for me is an easy one. So if you're sipping something and you have an oily finish or a waxy finish going on, that's glycerin. A flavoring agent, if you smell something but you're not tasting it through, or if it smells artificial, flavoring agent. Colors a little harder to identify, but these are the things that the industry definitely takes advantage of. There's a handful of distillers like Partida that don't add additives, but we definitely like to highlight that fact. It's a big deal.
It's like the Macallan of tequila, because
exactly. Yes. And you mentioned Macallan. Partida actually went. We are under the same portfolio as the Macallan Scotch. So in 2016, we joined our parent company. It's called Edrington America. They own the Macallan and some other really beautiful scotches. And our master distiller, Jose Valdez, was invited to Scotland for the first time back in 2016. And he fell in love with the whiskey making process. And he really wanted to create something that he was saying was the single malt of tequila. So we ended up, bringing some of these incredible barrels from Scotland and shipped them to Mexico. And that is how we created our new sipping line called Roble Fino. I know we're not tasting these today, but I did want to show them to you. We have this is the reposado. This is what we started with. This is Roble Fino Reposado. So this is that finishing barrel that I described. We are finishing this. We're taking our core reposado and finishing off for 2 months. And we pumped up the ABV to 43.
So 15 months for the reposado, and then an additional 3 months.
Yeah, so the Reposado starts at 6 months,
6 months.
and then it goes an additional 2 months in that single malt barrel, that Scotch barrel, and then we pump up the ABV to 43. We have a Cristalino Reposado that's exactly the same juice of what I just showed you, but it's gone through that filtration process. So it is a clear Reposado Cristalino, and basically it's the same wood time. It's just a Cristalino, and then we have our Añejo that is 5 months in that finishing barrel at 45 ABV. So it's definitely pumping up the alcohol just a little bit. Our master distiller says he kind of needed to wake it up because it's been sitting in wood for so long. So that's the reason he pushed that ABV up a little bit.
Excellent. And I know Herb is on the call, but his screen is off and he's not going to be joining us on audio today. He's doing.
Oh, I'm here.
Oh, he's it. Oh, there he goes. But he said earlier, Herb, just to verify, the Robofino will be available in Maine late summer. Is that
excellent?
Correct?
Yes.
Yeah. I think that's probably the timing. Yep.
Excellent.
Probably.
Good.
Yeah, probably July, late July or August.
Perfect.
Perfect.
Which is not when it starts warming up here, as I just keep looking at Sophia's background.
I know. I'm sorry. It is I'm so happy. It is a beautiful day. I live in San Juan Capistrano in Southern California, and it's kind of hit or miss these days. We'll have a really cold day, and then we have a day like today that's almost 70 degrees. It's just beautiful out here. So perfect tequila drinking weather.
Right. Is there not tequila drinking weather? I imagine it's a lot like I change what I drink just based on the weather, but you can just go from Blanco in the high heat and just kind of go to the Añejo and everything else on your cold.
I mean, there's, just whatever your mood is, right? We have 8 tequilas. So, I mean, you just pick it, whatever your mood is, that's what you're going to do. Yeah. So I know today we're going to be focusing on our 2 añejos, Partida's, classic core añejo. We just added a new añejo to our core line called Añejo Cristalino. So I'm not sure if you know too much about the category. It's not quite an official category in Mexico yet, but it's super trendy. In Mexico, it's what all the millennials are drinking. So you're going to probably see more Cristalinos as time goes by in the US. And Cristalino was never one of my favorite categories, only because the ones that we have ever tried have never really excited me very much. So when we produced our master distiller, Jose Valdez, perfected the technique to draw the color out without losing itself, without losing all the aroma and all of the flavor, which typically tends to happen if you add too much activated charcoal to the tequila. It draws everything out with the color. So Jose's perfected the technique where he just uses the minimal amount of activated charcoal to draw the color out. We put it through a filtration where it goes through plates of coconut fiber, and it actually comes out. It's not quite clear 100%. There's 3% of color in here, but it looks clear. And it's interesting because you think you're going to drink a clear spirit when in fact it's got a lot of the aging aromas and the aging flavors to it. So I'm going to go ahead and pour a little bit of this out. Are you guys almost ready for this part?
Yeah, Sophia, if I can interject real quickly, sure. Everyone should have a Cristalino pour and an Añejo pour there. So why don't we go to open those up, put them in a glass. If you don't necessarily want to pour out your whole pour, Sophia shared with a recipe with us that you can make with whatever you have left over, which we'll put in our thank you email that goes out either late tonight or tomorrow. So don't feel like you need to enjoy your whole neat pours as well. Maybe just have a little bit. And you may be drinking exactly what you're sharing with us, or with the recipe you gave us. I saw the grapefruit there. So
yeah, so I did that just a little while ago in my kitchen. A little bit of grapefruit, agave nectar, Blanco, some lime. It's absolutely delicious. I love this in the summertime. Poolside cocktail all the way.
There you go. And then there was a question earlier, and I noticed you just poured into these beautiful glasses.
Yes.
How do you enjoy drinking, or what is the proper way to sip tequila?
Yes, I'm so happy that you asked me that question. I love talking about that because for me, to enhance the experience, I like to use all my senses. So when I do tastings, I always tell people, leave the problems out the door. Don't think about the kids and the wives and just be present in the moment and really open up these senses and how I do that. So let's start with the Partida Añejo.
And we're
Now,
going to try this neat first, correct?
yes, neat first. So the only true way to understand a tequila's character is by doing just what we're doing here, and that is by enjoying it neat at room temperature. If you love your tequila cold, continue enjoying it cold, but just know that to understand it and to reveal its character, this is how you do it. After you fall in love with it, then freeze it up as much as you want, but to really study it, this is how we're going to do it. And tequila is, you're going to be evaluating tequila in 3 areas: by the way it looks, by the way it smells, and of course, by the way it tastes. So what I like to do is I like to hold it up to the light. In the case of an añejo, our añejo, it's going to have that, beautiful topaz color. If you swirl it in your glass, you're going to notice there's a little string of pearls that actually breaks. Those pearls become tears, and those tears cry. So my uncle used to always say, si tu tequila no llora, no vale la pena. And that just means if your tequila is not crying, it's not worth drinking. You want that texture, you want those tears, you want them to cry very slowly in the glass. So when you do that again, you want to place it about an inch away.
Before this is over, by the way, I said we're going to test everybody on that saying.
Okay.
So.
Yes. Yes. If your tequila is not crying, it's not worth drinking. And don't worry, because it's also a truth serum, so you have to watch out for that. So we're going to place it about an inch under our nose. Relax your mouth, inhale through your nose, and hold on to the aroma at the back of your throat for about 3 seconds. Then exhale it. And then you want to do that about 3 times. We're studying the aroma right now. Hold, and then exhale. So on the aroma of our Partida Añejo, you're going to pick up the agave, which is going, in this case, because of the aging and the type of wood that we're using, you're going to pick up some ripe banana tones, some baking spices. But the agave, if you imagine a cooked yam that has been almost with a honey glaze on top.
Yeah.
So you're going to be picking up that real sweet, beautiful yam. Imagine a little bit of root beer even. So there's that little ginger, cardamom, kind of a root beer tone happening here too. So it's important that what you are smelling that you're going to taste. So you want to have that agreement between your nose and your mouth. Very important when you're sipping a tequila. So how we're going to taste it is the first sip doesn't count. The first sip is just going to prepare your palate, kind of wake your palate up. In Mexico, when they're doing a professional catador, they will actually rinse their mouths out with vodka first before they start the tasting. So a couple of sips doesn't count.
I mean, even if it doesn't count, it's still amazing.
It's still amazing. But now on this sip, we're going to do it a little more methodical. We're going to take a small sip and a small breath through our nose at the same time. So you want to smell and taste. You want the sip to start from the tip of your tongue to the side of your tongue, swallow, and then exhale at the end. But make sure that the tequila does hit the tip of your tongue for that experience. Salud. You want to exhale at the end, and you're going to notice, I want you to pay attention to the things that are happening in your mouth right now. So you have got you've got salivating cheeks. The tip of your tongue is probably, you got doing a little dance, a little tingling. There's kind of a dry sensation going on the roof of your palate. The tannins definitely have gone to work here. It's a little drier, but notice there is no film of oil. There is no waxy finish. It's clean. And that is what you want to experience every time you try a fine tequila.
I just switched my view to gallery just so I can see everyone real quickly. But just at a show of hands, how many people like enjoy when they're out and they come out? I know who enjoys tequila at our restaurant that's on this call, but how many people like will either at home or out will enjoy a neat pour of tequila? Excellent. Great. I'm glad to see it's that many people that instead of, I mean, I remember doing a lot of bad tequila shots growing up, you know, but it's nice now, you know, as we're, as we're enjoying other things, like, you know, you enjoy a nice bottle of wine, you enjoy a nice scotch or bourbon or anything else, at the same level, there's so many great expressions of tequila to enjoy in that same fashion. So
absolutely. And I think, you know, people always talk about having that bad experience. And I think 80% of that is probably because people were drinking mixto tequilas, right? So a mixto tequila will never say 100% agave on the bottle. It'll just say gold or just say tequila. And those tequilas are half agave and almost half sugarcane spirit. So, you know, that usually is where the bad experience comes from. So I always, you know, make sure it says 100% blue Weber agave on the bottle.
Just make sure it says Partida, because then you're
hey, that's even better. Yes. Excellent. So I love doing side by sides with our añejos, because it definitely will show you how different you might not notice it so much on the nose, but in your mouth, it is definitely a lighter experience. So again, how we created Cristalino is we took our añejo that we just tasted and we put it through a filtration system, not a distillation. Okay, distillation is what we do to remove, you know, heads and tails, and for us, we distill all of our tequilas twice. So this is not this is a filtration, right? So what we're doing is we're basically, just to give you a visual, because it's kind of neat. It's a large stainless steel tank with a blade, kind of like a blade underneath it. And our master distiller is adding, again, the minimal amount of activated charcoal. So imagine it's black, right? Throws it in the tank, spins it around, and then puts it through these plates that are made out of coconut fiber. And that is how we take the color out. So I want you, before you taste it, I want you to nose the core añejo again, and then nose the Cristalino añejo. So already you can tell it's a lighter aroma. There's not as many levels of flavor, because actually that's what wood does, of course, right? It takes that Blanco, more simple tequila, and it adds levels of flavor to it. The longer you age, usually, the more levels of flavor it adds. So, but here, some of those levels have been taken away, correct, right? So it's a lighter experience. So go ahead and sip it like I showed you. Here's where you tell the difference, right? In the mouthfeel. Lighter, brighter, definitely. It still has a finish, but not as elongated as our core añejo. It's got a certain tang to it, a certain acidity to it, a certain brightness to it that our core añejo just doesn't have. So it's just a lot of fun. Producing this tequila was so much fun, because getting to do something so cutting edge, it's just a lot of fun, and do it well, right? So it's not so weak and so without personality. It still has the personality. It's just of an añejo. It's just a lighter experience. What did you think?
I think this is amazing. Like, and I love that we did the side by side with it, so you can taste the difference in the two. And you know, we kind of talked earlier about how your preference changes by weather. Like, these two bottles would be great. They could easily be your your summer and winter sippers for tequila.
Exactly. And it shows up so beautifully in a cocktail. A lot of people, for some reason in their mind are opposed to using añejo in a cocktail because whatever they're thinking, it's more expensive or, should be just sipped neat. But Cristalino, it's so beautiful in a cocktail. It really shows through, but it's less heavy, of course, than using the traditional añejo. So it's spectacular in a cocktail.
And when speaking of cocktails, what I think of when I use an añejo, I almost treat it like a bourbon.
Yes.
You do a lot of the nearly neat cocktails with the añejo that you would with a bourbon, and really showcase and bring that out. You could even use like a sweet vermouth with it or anything else and work with that. But this Cristalino, I don't think you would want to treat it that way. You would treat it almost more like a martini or something along those lines.
Yes, exactly.
So beautiful. I don't know if I would mix a lot of lime juice or anything else.
Right. Yeah, I agree. And I do love the grapefruit with it. Something about the grapefruit, it just shares so many of aromas and flavors with grapefruit. So it's a great pairing to do a cocktail with grapefruit. It's my favorite.
Excellent. And you probably can grow your grapefruit right there in your backyard.
I wish I had some. That's all I have is hardscape back here. That's all I have. I'm just next time maybe we do this, I'll be on a farm in Temecula. We'll see.
A couple questions that came in while we were talking. Well, so we didn't have a neat pour of the Blanco.
Okay.
But the question came in of how does this Cristalino, and I think I know the answer, but how does the Cristalino compare to the Blanco? Even though they're both clear, they're very, very different.
Yes, they are so different. And that is the thing with a Cristalino, is it kind of plays a little trick on your mind, right? Because you think you're drinking a Blanco, or you think you're drinking something with no age, but it's got a lot of age, right? We just tasted it. It's got quite a bit of wood still. It's a lighter experience, but it's definitely not, it's the opposite of a Blanco, right? The Blanco is, it's all about the agave. There's no wood involved at all. Blanco is, it's about the land, the ripeness of the plant, the process. That's it. Where our Cristalino has gone through, 18 months of aging and then the coconut filtration. So two completely different tequilas, but they look similar. That's about it.
But definitely not.
Yeah.
Going back to the Robofino, there was a question earlier about how does the ABV get pumped up?
Ooh.
And it's almost, I think I know this answer. We're not really pumping ABV up. We're just not bringing it as far down.
Yes, exactly. And it's the dilution process, right? So we're not adding as much dilution. So typically, you're going to add at our distillery natural spring water to dilute it. It comes out of the still, I believe, at 55. So basically, the more water you add, the more dilution you create. So he just didn't add as much on the Robofino line.
Just did different math to get it
exactly.
to the level that he wanted.
Yes.
The question also came in on the names of the cocktails, which I'm happy to.
That's you.
That's all me. That's Sofia did not name these, but so everyone's been enjoying heavy petting, and hopefully shortly you'll be enjoying light petting. Those cocktails came from Jen Fries, who is on this. There she is. Hi, Jen. Dr. Fries, 2 years ago, I believe, when the world didn't even know what COVID was, she was enjoying New Year's dinner with her much older sister. Just for you, Jen. Much older sister. And they were saying, oh, we should check in on the babysitter. And they were going to look at the cameras in the house to see if the kids were behaving themselves and what the babysitter was doing. And Raph, in his very wise manner, said, no, let's not do that. I think the babysitter's boyfriend's over. We don't need to see any light petting going on in our house. And as they were doing that, I was filling their water and I said, light petting, that will be a name of a cocktail sometime. So light petting was the first one. It did really, really well. When we changed our cocktail, we just did heavy petting because it just made sense. So
I love those names.
that's Jess and Raph, or I'm sorry, Jen and Raph got us those. So
That's a lot. Sometimes the light bulb just goes off, right?
yeah, it was immediately. You know.
Exactly. Well, what about Cinco de Mayo? What are you up to this Cinco de Mayo, Bob?
So Dustin did a terrific menu that we're actually going to be pairing with your cocktails and neat pours. We started last week and we're going to be doing it this week. Shrimp tostadas, polenta cakes, an amazing lobster. We're using Maine lobster and churros for dessert, all paired with different tequilas. You know, it's dine in only, and it's all week long, Tuesday through Saturday. So I think that's the extent of ours. But this is what does Cinco de Mayo look like for you typically, and what does it look like for you on Wednesday?
Well, this Cinco de Mayo, I'm going to have my sisters over, and I'm going to recreate this exact same thing that we're doing today with the two añejos. We're going to do a side-by-side añejo cristalino and Partida añejo core. And then I'm going to be serving some complimentary dishes with them. And we're going to start fairly early because the next day I'm on a flight to Puerto Vallarta for a family wedding. So it'll be this year a little bit more mellow than normal, but I mean, gosh, we have blown it out on past Cincos. You know, always so much fun with all my customers. We've created some really fun things for our accounts, and we love to deck them out with all of our Partida stuff. I think one of my favorite Cincos was about 4 years ago when I did a tequila dinner at the San Diego Wildlife Park. And it was just the most incredible setting, and, you know, birds everywhere. And they paraded out some cheetahs and all these beautiful big cats on leashes. It was like the most incredible Cinco ever. So it's a great time to share our culture with people. I mean, I know Cinco is very Americanized, and, you know, it's kind of like our St. Patrick's Day for tequila, but at the same time, it's also a really great opportunity to share a piece of Mexico, whether it's, you know, our traditional foods that we serve, of course, our amazing tequilas that we have, and it just, you know, kind of, we're all Mexican on Cinco.
Yeah, exactly. I grew up in Arizona in the Valley of the Sun, and I remember in South Phoenix there was a parade. There was everything else. I didn't see a St. Patrick's Day parade,
right,
until I lived in Boston. I didn't even know that was really a thing. But
yeah, I
knew the Cinco de Mayo parade was quite a big thing in Phoenix and everything else. So it's great to see that still. It's not really the same in Bangor, Maine on Cinco de Mayo. It's
no.
it's usually margaritas you can find and whatever else. But
well, you have to create the party. That's all.
Yeah, and now it's the nice thing is everybody has enough margaritas at home. Maybe I don't know if everyone's how much damage people put into their bottles, but hopefully have enough margaritas to enjoy it. You know, on Cinco de Mayo.
I certainly hope so. Would you like me to show you what I'm going to be serving?
I would love that. That would be great.
Okay. All right. Well, everything is always about, you know, how does it pair with not even just a cocktail, but tequila neat. And the Cristalino for me is all about brightness, right? So I like to pair it with something that really brings out the brightness that's there already. So for me, that it would be something like a chile verde. I don't know if you guys can see it, or so basically it's a stewed pork in a sauce made out of tomatillos, jalapenos, cilantro, a little bit of chicken broth. So this really works well with the Cristalino. I love this dish. This is a little more, you don't see every day, but I love nopales, and a really nice ensalada de nopales. It's basically paddle cactus. So you make a salad with basically it's like a pico de gallo, some onions, add a little avocado on top, some tomatoes. Again, really bright, really brings out those qualities of the Cristalino. I also have, of course, guacamole, and I have some salsa too with chips. Always works beautifully with our añejo. People don't think so much of the añejo as being bright, but in fact, remember all of the blanco aromas and flavors are underneath. So if you pair our añejo with something that is citrus, let's just say like a key lime pie or a guacamole with a lot of lemon in it, it will bring out those tones that are kind of hidden in the añejo. So I love doing that. So that's a lot of fun.
That's true. And I got to tell you, like, I'm a big fan of accessories. Your bowls are amazing.
Oh.
Like they just scream like a party and everything else, and very easy to share and everything else. So just completely off topic. The food.
Oh, thanks. You know, it's fun to kind of, take it to the next level when you're entertaining, and just kind of the attention and that are in the details really make a big difference. So anytime we do a backyard party, we like to really spice things up with our, our decorations. We'll do batched cocktails with some fun herbs next to them so people can, just kind of plop their, little garnish next to it. So it's just fun to create that experience for people that, that's colorful and fun, because it all just works so well with tequila.
Right. No one ever thinks dark woods and leather when they're thinking about tequila. They want it to be bright and fun and loud.
Yes.
And else. Yeah, I absolutely agree.
Exactly.
The music today for our waiting area, that was Sofia's music selection as well. So thank you for that.
Of course, that was fun to hear. It was fun to listen to.
So I'm trying to think. I think we've hit all the questions. Okay. Jess, have we missed any questions in the chat? I just scrolled through and I didn't see any that we may have missed.
Not that I see.
Okay.
Okay. Well, would you like me just to tell you a little bit more about this finishing barrel, because it's just fascinating to me how this works out.
Are those? Can I ask the question about the regular barrels real quick?
Sure. Yeah.
Fall under the Edrington brand. The whiskey barrels you're using for the Reposado and the Añejo, are those also from the Edrington brand, or are those from?
They are not. No, they are not. They're from Kentucky. And they are not an Edrington barrel. No, and they're basically used for one cycle of bourbon, which is 3 years. It's a American oak barrel, and again, it's got that nice high corn mash bill seasoning that's left behind. And we don't repurpose, recondition the barrels. We basically just wash them out with hot water and put them in our barrel room and use them for aging all of our our aged expressions.
I didn't know if they were coming from maybe Wyoming or they were coming from Ohio or something like that, but
yeah, not yet. No, I think that, we like the way these barrels in particular influence our core line. And then beyond that, right, the barrels that we're using from Scotland, those barrels actually start out as 100-year-old European oak trees. They're harvested and then made into staves. But first, the wood has to dry in the sun for 18 months before they can turn them into staves. Then once they are, treated with heat, they're sent to Jerez, Spain, to be used in the production of sherry, oloroso sherry. So very sweet, very fine sherry. And that is 2 cycles of 3 years. So 6 years of sherry seasoning. Then they're sent to Scotland to one of the Edrington distilleries and used twice for single malt Scotch, 12 years. So 24 years in Scotland, 6 years in Spain, and then they're shipped to Mexico, and we use them for our finishing casks.
For 3 months.
Yeah, you're really, you've got four countries involved in all of this, right? You've got, America for, our barrels that we use for our core. You've, Spain, the sherry. You've got Scotland, and of course Mexico, right? So it's quite a project to do this tequila, but it's worth it. It's just, it really truly, it's a whiskey lover's tequila. It's got that sherry undertone. There's nothing like it. The sherry undertone, it's exquisite. You really are picking up a lot of stone fruit, raisin, sherry. It's a lovely tequila.
Great. So a couple questions that I did see came in about, are these all available in Maine? Right now, everything except for the Robofino is available in Maine. And the Robofino, as Herb said, it will be late summer.
Perfect.
So that will be available. I will say the Cristalino is available at the Bistro and it's available at Stompers. They have 4 bottles. They're not doing anything else. They open at 9 a.m. on Tuesday.
Bob, thanks for putting Partida on the map in Maine. Wow.
So that's it.
Single-handedly.
It's the pours you have in your hand, a couple that I have here for this week to enjoy with our menu, and then 4 at Stompers. That being said, and Sophia, you don't know this, but I had a visitor earlier today.
Yeah.
Susan Price, who owns Pepino's, the Mexican restaurant here in downtown Bangor, came in and asked why all the talk around Cinco de Mayo is at Novio's. Asked what we're doing, so I was explaining to her and everything else, and she is going to be showcasing starting next week light petting on their menu.
Incredible.
Made Blanco, and she will have 1 bottle of Cristalino for neat pours.
Oh, great. Terrific.
We should be sold out by then.
That's fantastic.
She'll have 1 bottle and she'll have light petting on her menu.
Wonderful. That's exciting stuff. I'll have to come visit you guys out there.
You may want to wait a few months.
Okay. Okay. Perfect. And I did want to touch on the Spirit Bird. I know you said that you sent your guest the Spirit Bird, right?
And I think everyone should have one of these on their bag, maybe, or draped across a bottle.
Yeah. So this is our little mascot. This is our Spirit Bird. And there's a lot of myth around how tequila started. And this is our little folklore myth. And it's just that very long time ago that a Mayan woman was praying to the gods for prosperity for her village. And when she opened her eyes after praying, she saw a bird that fluttering around. So she followed it. And the bird led her to an agave plant where there was a hole pecked into it. And pulque was rising from the hole, which is basically a fermented kind of a milky substance. She took it back to her village, and it lifted everyone's spirits. So we call this the Spirit Bird.
Excellent.
And it protects our fields.
Everybody has one to decorate it maybe on their Christmas tree. I think that's
There you go. Yeah, you can use it as a hair tie if you don't have one.
There you go. I think that's what Courtney's done before. I think I said that to you earlier.
Yes, right.
Kim, yes, Stompers has the full lineup of Partida.
Excellent.
And, so that's there for you. And Herb just said the flight attendant has given him the eye, so he is.
Oh, that's funny. Poor Herb.
And he just said more Cristalino is on its way, hopefully by the end of the month.
Excellent.
So, and Herb sent it FedEx, so there you go. That's why we're able to get it in.
Excellent. Yes.
So, Sophie, if you don't mind, I'm going to just do a quick commercial for what we have coming up.
Please. Yeah, please do.
In addition to the Cinco de Mayo menu featuring partidas, tequilas, and cocktails that we'll have this week, we got to jump all the way to June for our next 2 events. June 17th, Monday the 17th, we're doing a Cocktails with Friends with Taconic Distillery out of upstate New York. They are releasing a new bottle into the state of Maine. And the fun thing about this is it has Courtney's face on it. So everyone's favorite bartender here at the Bistro, Courtney is showcased on the bottle. So that will be available on the 17th for Cocktails with Friends, a limit of 36 people in that event. And then those bottles, a few will be available at Stompers, and Courtney will sign them for an additional fee, I think.
Great.
So, but that event you can find at noviosbistro.com/events. And then on the Monday after Father's Day, and I'm just going to keep saying the Monday after Father's Day because that's a good Father's Day gift for everybody. We're going to be doing a event with Highland Park and Bar Harbor Oyster Company called Sea Smoke and Sherry Oak. And the kits are going to be awesome. You get 2 cocktails, normal size, not Sofia Partida size. Normal size cocktails. a neat pour of Highland Park 18, either 6 or 12 oysters, depending on your choice at checkout, a shucker from Toadfish that has a Novio's Bistro logo on it. Those are the shuckers that our staff use. They're absolutely amazing. A atomizer, which will help you enjoy Highland Park with your oysters. A virtual oyster shucking class.
Wow.
A tool to smoke a cocktail, because one of the cocktails we're going to be doing is smoked. So it's a lot of things that go into that package, but the cocktails are limited inside. They're the normal size cocktails. They're not the Sofia size cocktails.
I like that. I like being known for Sofia size cocktails.
There you go. And that capacity is limited, or that presentation is limited to 50 people or 50 kits, because we want to make sure people can follow along and ask questions when it comes to the oyster shucking, because we want people to feel comfortable with that process. So please sign up early, sign up often, and get multiple kits. And the shuckers are great gifts. If you buy that the Toadfish on Amazon, I think it's like $45 right now. So it's included in your kit. Yep, May 17th for Taconic. Did I say the wrong date? It's very possible. It's the Monday before the Highland Park one, whatever that Monday is. So any questions, please, as always, Bob at noviosbistro.com, or I'm here. Most of you have my cell phone number anyway, but just please let me know. And it's not May 17th, Sarah. It's definitely June 17th. So if that's wrong on the website, I'll get that fixed right away. It's definitely June. It's not May, or maybe it is May. I'll clarify it in the thank you email.
How many tequilas have you had so far, Bob, today?
I don't know. I swear, Sophia. The problem is this is the third Monday in a row.
Yeah, that's a lot.
We have a lot of different events and a lot of different things going on, and Andy could probably clarify better than I can right now. It's been a long few weeks, and
yes.
So I'm happy to do this, but I'm happy to be back to Kimberly says you don't have my cell phone. The bistro rings to my cell phone, so everybody has it. And also, we have more than one person from MDI. MDI, Sofia, is Mount Desert Island. It's like the vacation land in Maine.
All right.
They said they live on MDI.
Wonderful.
And that's we have 2 families now from MDI. That's like an hour away. So it's
wow.
There.
Exciting.
So you can. So yeah, all right. That's a long segue, but just thought I'd share. Any other questions before we let Sofia go?
Yes, please ask away.
Anyone else, or for me, I'll verify that date and make sure everybody knows that. I'm sure it's in May though. Now that I think about it. Nope. Bueller going. That's it.
Wow.
How much is a bottle of Añejo? It's not crazy. It's I want to say it's in that 40. High 40s,
59.
low 50. Go ahead, Herb.
59.
59. Yeah. There you go.
Herb's interjecting from the flight. That's hysterical. I love it.
Oh my God.
You're not going to get peanuts, Herb, if you upset that flight attendant.
That's the best. I love it.
59, not crazy at all. So
no, totally affordable.
All right, and what is? Let's talk about that real quick. Difference between mezcal and tequila.
The difference between mezcal and tequila, yes. So mezcal is a different process and a different plant. So typically the plant that is used is an agave, but it's a different variety of agave than we use for tequila. So the tequila variety is called Blue Weber agave. So there's a couple hundred different varieties of agave, but the variety that is used for mezcal is usually the espadín, and that is typically grown in Oaxaca. So usually a little more pricey than tequila, only because of the very raw process that takes place. Usually the palenques are, small ma and pa kind of mini fabricas, as we call them in Mexico. So different variety of agave. different state, different experience. Typically, you know, you're cooking your agave underground with some palm fronds on top of it. I've known some pelenques, they throw a chicken breast in there and pray over it. And so it's going to be a smokier, heavier experience because of that raw process that they're still using. And I don't see it changing much, even though you are going to start seeing much lighter versions of mezcal to kind of pull people into the category. But it's definitely a different experience than tequila, much smokier, much heavier. Yes.
Thank you. I had a question about the light petting. So if you don't mind, I'll
Good. Yeah.
real quick. Some of the ingredients in that with the your Blanco tequila, Sofia, and then Sailor's aperitif is going to be your main component there. It's only half an ounce in there, but it adds like a lot of citrus flavors, a little bit of mint, and I get a lot of like, if you nose it, if you like the aperitifs, it's like fresh cut grass is what I get. It really reminds me of, you know, like early morning baseball games because of fresh cut grass. And we made a cucumber and sea salt simple syrup that really brightens that up quite a bit.
Wow.
And I did get verification from Annie, who is on the call. I think her screen may be off, but she's on the call, that it is definitely May 17th, tax day, is how we're going to remember that. So we're going to celebrate tax day by drinking a little bit of bourbon for that Cocktails with Friends with Taconic.
Excellent. I'll give a little plug for Partida as well. If any of your guests would like to follow Partida on Instagram, it's just Tequila Partida. Myself is Sofia, spelled with an F, _ Partida, also at Instagram and Facebook and all of that. So I like to post things on how to enjoy tequila kind of in a more elevated style, a lot of entertaining posts and things from my customers here in Southern California. So hope to see you guys all on social media.
Yeah, and you did a great one on IG Live on maybe Friday or Saturday.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Yeah, it's so much fun to be engaged. You know, you and I together. I like that much better than just me. It's so much more fun.
Awesome. So, and of course, please, if you, I know a couple of you sent me pictures of your setups at home, but love it if you would post those on Instagram or
love to see them.
Tag Sofia and tag
love to see them.
See how you're doing. So
fantastic.
Sofia, I really appreciate you spending this almost hour and 20 minutes now with us.
Absolutely, my pleasure. And I'm all riled up, ready to have some fun for Cinco. This is all I needed.
Excellent. We're the primary. When you think about getting primed for Cinco, you think Bangor, Maine.
I love it.
All right. Thank you so much, Sofia. Thank you everyone for joining. This has been a great event. And once again, thank you all. And we look forward to seeing you on May 17th and then again on the 21st for Highland Park and oysters. Cheers to everybody. So much.
Salud, everyone.
Salud.
Take care.